Trying to get the most out of a Scots pine before it grows too straight and gets the unsightly bud clusters. Scots pines. If you don't get it right at the beginning, you'll regret it. Trust me, it happened to me when I first started off, and I've found a few ways of sorting it out to make it a lot easier on yourself and getting better trees in the long run. I picked these Scots pines up from a nursery. I got several, and what I found is, because they're nursery stock, they're actually not grown for bonsai, so they're left to grow tall and straight. So the first thing you've got to do is get some curve into them, get some shape into them. So what I initially did with these is I got some thick 5mm wire and took it round the trunks to start them off and get some curve and shape to them. This is initial stage. What I'm going to do is I'll be wiring them up later on, and I'll explain what's going to happen with them. But the thing about Scots pines is they're very, very, very good at back budding. Now that's a great help, but it can also be an hindrance, because what happens is you will end up getting a clump where the back budding is. As you can see on there, there's 1, 2, 3, there's 5 on that particular one, 6 in fact on there, and what will happen is it will create a clump and it will create inverse taper, but it will also not look very nice. So while they're at an early stage, what I like to do is try and cut some of this out and try and pick out some of the selective branches what I'm going to use. I'm not saying they're going to be all the branches I'm using, but it will just cut down with the clumping at the very beginning. So let's have a look at this one for a start. Like I said, we've got some curve on it there. It will be wired even more while it's still soft. As you can see, there's still some movement in it, but what I plan on doing is putting these in the ground. They will be put in the ground to grow on, to thicken up for 2 to 3 years. So what I'm going to do is, obviously you can see where that clumping is there. I've got to decide, we don't want 2 branches opposite each other, but at this stage I'm thinking one of them might be better than the other one, so I'm going to leave them both for now. I'm just having a look to see what's round the back here. There's some shape here, as you can see from there with the curve, and what we've got there is this branch there, which could become the apex. It's also got some natural twist in it at the moment where the wire's sort of like being taken off, and there's another one there which has got some twist and shape to it at the moment. But as you can see, there's just too much going on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to selectively take out this large cluster here. This is the original apex, but if I take it out, what we can do then is cut down on that cluster. What I've decided to do as well is I'm going to take off one of these branches, because it is definitely quite a clumpy one, so I'm taking it off so I can get some shape to it, and while it's at this young stage it will heal much better. So some wound sealant over that and that will be sorted out. You may be asking, why is he leaving all these branches down the bottom? Well, basically, by leaving some branches down the bottom, we can use these as sacrifice branches, helping the trunk thicken and take them off later on. Also, we've got actual choice, because when we get into the pot we don't know how deep the root's going to be, and these actually could work as lower branches. So I'll leave that one for now, because that just wants some root sealant, that's some sealant on it. Here's another one that's got a nice curve on it. This has got just a single branch at the bottom there. As you can see, that's a nice sacrifice branch, but it's also a good branch. So now we've got to look and say, we've got the curve, some nice shape to it there. It's a matter of looking inside and deciding which ones we're going to remove, which branches we're going to remove. Now I know it seems a bit brutal and you could leave them all on and decide later, but the longer you leave them, the thicker this clump will get, and eventually it looks really unsightly. I quite like the way that that's sweeping up and sweeping down, and that's quite thick, so I could actually leave that as the actual main trunk. Then what we could do is take away some of these branches and just leave a couple for side branches, which that's really maybe looking like a promising tree straight away. It's got some good shape to it, this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look now and decide which ones I'm going to take out. Again, we've got a clump forming inside in the middle there, so we need to definitely thin some of these branches out. Now at the end of the day, it's down to personal preference really, and it's your tree, and you better decide what you want. That's a good thing about bonsai. You can pick your own style. Some people will say, oh well, I wouldn't have done that and I wouldn't have done that, but does it really matter? What matters is that you're getting enjoyment out of it, and it's your tree, your shape, your design, your style. You've picked that, so that's what I feel is important. Now obviously we're going to cut some of these out because obviously there's far too many, so I will just selectively go through and decide which ones I'm cutting away or pulling out. As you can see, we've got quite a lot of choice here really, so I'm looking for the stronger ones, or the ones that sort of don't lie parallel with the other ones. Now we've got a couple of low ones here, as you can see, so taking one off, taking two off because they were very, very weak. They're very straddly, some of them, and they just hang on, so they don't take much removing. So there's another one that's a straddly one. You can virtually nip them off. It's a lot of the time the tree will selectively choose its own branches, and it will shed the smaller ones or the weaker ones when it doesn't want. As you can see, these are quite strong, these branches here, and we've got two parallel with each other. I don't really want that, but I'm going to leave them on for now, and then at a later date decide which one to take out. But what I want to do is, under here there's a weaker branch there that's all twisted and deformed, so that one can come out. And what I'm doing is I'm using my hands, as you can see, to think where the style of the tree can be. So again, this branch under here can come out, so we can get in there, just nibble that out there. Again, there's a damaged weak one underneath there, which I don't really want, so we're going to take that one off as well. It's opened up the structure of the tree, and now I've given it a chance where it's got enough to back bud, so I can select more branches at a later date if I want. I don't have to be happy with this style, I can do it later, because remember, it's going in the ground, and it's going to be in the ground for a couple of years, so it's obviously going to back bud even more, and I just keep an eye on it. But what I've had to do is take them out for this specific time, because it just gets too thick and too heavy. And like I say, it just the shape, you actually lose the whole shape. There's a few buds here, look, I can actually just nip these out. Look, there must be 2, 3, 4, 5. There must be 10 there, 10, at least 10. I've just nipped all them out before that main cluster starts. So that could be my apex, and I've got some working branches back there, so we can actually get some shape on this tree. So if you can basically see, we can be looking at something like this at a later date, sort of. But that's in the future. Place it to one side because it needs some sealant, wound sealant on. Again, another one. Same again, look, we've got this nice twist. I'm keeping them, I'll show you why in a minute, but what I want to do is I want to just make sure, see, we've got a nice twist to it there. We've also got quite a few good branches coming up, but there's going to be a large clump here, so again we're going to have to look at that. Just to save a little bit of time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out some of these branches in this tree and then get back to you. As you can see, I've taken out quite a few of the branches just to sort of give it some space, some light, get some air in, and also give it some shape. The thing is, what I wanted to explain to you was, if we can catch these further up, as you can see, while they're small, you can get away with getting less damage to the tree, so that it's less scarring, which helps. If you leave them too long, you end up with terrible lumps and scars. As mentioned, these trees will be going in the ground for 2 years to thicken the trunks up, but I just wanted to show you something that had happened previously, and it's this one. Now this, as you can see, was a Scotch pine. Again, I bought it and it was straight, total straight. So unfortunately, without going to extremes of trying to bend it, I actually had these bottom branches. There was actually 2 branches at the bottom, as you can see there. These branches here were at the bottom, just like on these thinner wispy ones like this, like the thinny wispy ones there, and I left them on. So when I cut it back, there was nothing apart from them down there, and all this, I just wanted to show you, all that growth there is in a year, is back budding that's come, and it's thickened up. So actually I'm going to be working on that one later, and working on it as a small tree. As you can see, I've got plenty of choice for branch selection, but I've actually got, at the moment, I've got no bulging, so it's a matter of just selecting branches, wiring it and training it and shaping it. But it's thick. You can see the amount of back budding, it's gone right down the trunk, so we're down there. So it's worth noting that Scotch pines actually go daft when it comes to back budding. So the next stage is to get wound sealant on the cuts, and then these trees will be left in the pots till the end of the season, when they will go into the ground. Now I just want to show you this Scots pine tree that I purchased a while ago, and just show you what I was talking about with, as you can see, if we come round here, when I was mentioning these unsightly clumps, these were what happened. They had to be cut out there because there was just too many branches, and as you can see, I've had to force this with wire. I'm actually straining it down to try and get some shape in the actual tree itself. I'm not really happy with it. These branches could probably go back, and I could create some kind of feature with it, but if you take notice here, we've got some back budding, and this is what I'm quite pleased about. We've got some back budding just here, look, and this is what I said when I mentioned earlier on about this one here that had the back budding the same, and you can see what's happened there. So like I say, if that's the case, I can always fall back on cutting it back there, cutting it off here, shaping this, maybe creating some deadwood here, and having this as my initial tree.